And we are live. I'm Adam. This is Highly Articulated, and we're going to talk about toys. Surprise! No, that's not a surprise. You all knew that was going to be the case. Today we are going to talk about getting rid of some of our toys. As as most of you probably have experienced, every once in a while you kind of realize that there's no room left in your toy room, in your storage bins, in your garage, in your storage locker, wherever it may be, and you do have to downsize or get more storage. And I'm not willing to do that, and neither is my guest. So this was somewhat inspired by this gentleman. This was the idea for this topic was his idea, and I think it's a great idea because we're all there at one point or another. Austin, what's going on, buddy?
I own too much crap.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that the truth? The reality is, most of us do, and most of us. I bet every toy collector that I know, if I was like, hey, could you sort of stand to sell a few things to make more room? I guarantee 100% everybody would have a few items that'd be like, yeah, I could get rid of this, I could get rid of this. But I think we'll get into it more. But I think the big thing is we bought all this stuff for a reason, and sometimes it's like hard to overcome.
Yeah.
Why I bought this in order to be able to sell it. But what's going on, man? It's been a while since you've been on.
Yeah, working and girlfriend and Warhammer. Warhammer's been another thing taking up a lot of my time.
Nice.
Been painting like a madman, trying to get ready for Warhammer tournaments. Also has been spending a lot of money on Warhammer, which is another reason why I want to sell some toys.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
Fun. I think I even made a post on Facebook somewhere like buy my stuff so I can fund other projects. The other projects is Warhammer.
Now we're gonna get into trying to get rid of stuff. Should we jump right into pickups?
For the sake of irony, sure.
Yeah, exactly. You go ahead. I realize I gotta adjust all my lighting because I didn't do.
Yeah, for sure. Mine's. I'm going to make mine pretty quick because I got a lot. It's way more than I was expecting, but it's a classic case of, you buy things or you pay for pre-orders a while ago and everything just shows up at once. I opened up a lot of them. For example, like the War of the Aether Blade orcs, which are just so cool. They're incredible. I'm really kicking myself for not getting more. But I do have a handful of those guys. They're so cool. I do have a handful of the original orc builders, and I'm thinking since these guys come with so many extra parts, maybe doing some pop and swap of those, because that could be pretty cool. I got one of each one, and again, kind of kicking myself up for not getting more. I'm going to skip this top one for a second, just because we're still on the topic of War of the Aether Blade. Just like I think pretty much everyone who is at least remotely interested got these guys. One thing I'll point out about this that makes me super happy is, so of course you got Gorgo here, who was definitely one of the most expensive 1.0 figures, up there of like Thor, Ironjaw, and Otho and all of them. Owning this guy now, I have no reason to own the first version. So
sure.
So even though they're not reissuing some of these characters, I think this is awesome. Better alternative in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Because
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
just, an All Stars re-release versus like a version 2.0.
mhm.
Um, I'll take a version 2.0
Yeah.
just about every time.
Well,
Um,
it's funny because you mentioned All Stars. Like we just had All Stars 5,
mhm,
whatever they call 5 plus,
mhm,
and I actually got one of them beside me, Duban here. Phenomenal figure. Like it is so cool with the Say
mhm.
Jessam CJ the C Jessam soft goods is just
Yeah, that
like
cape is
incredible.
phenomenal.
And some of their reissues like Romulus and Azar, I don't want to say they're not bad figures. They're just not as cool as the new stuff. It's the easiest
Yeah,
way I
I
can put
mean,
it.
yeah, that sort of suggestion or argument or whatever you want to call it has come up a few times recently, where people have basically said the same thing. Like the all stars are cool if if you need them to sort of finish off your collection, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing a complete collection and you missed Azar, or you missed for All Star 6, right? Like if you missed Pixis or something like that,
Mhm.
there's some expensive figures out there in the line that are not easy to get. Um, I don't necessarily need them just because they're old or because they're more expensive. So like
Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I want to know who won All Star 6 voting, but what I really want to see is on Friday they're going to reveal the new figures for that wave. Like
Yeah.
they said when they launched the Necronominus wave that All Stars 6 was going to have an extension of that wave. So we could see more knights and skeletons in that wave for sure. I'm hoping that we see bone wings and feathered wings as well,
Yeah.
because I think that's a spot where they could kind of drop them in, even if they're not with a figure. They could come as
Mhm.
as an extra, as an add-on kind of thing. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. The new stuff interests me more
Yeah.
typically than the old stuff. There's a few. I still don't have my Elf Ranger, but I mean these deluxe Elf Builder packs have kind of satiated my appetite for that, at least for now.
Yeah.
Um, when I look at Vorgus Vermilius version 2, which is the Legion's Con exclusive coming up in November, um, at least then you know, I have the blood armor.
Yeah.
I have seen Vorgus prices seem to be coming down a little
Quite a
bit.
bit. Yeah.
He's popped up a couple times, and I've been like, because I still like that paint job. But the reality is, I could buy all those parts and have somebody paint it for me, probably for less than what he was sort of going for. And I think I'd be okay with that. But we'll see. I mean, it may. It's definitely one of those figures that if it popped up at the right price, I would grab it, but I don't necessarily need it with the version 2.0 coming.
Yeah. I have one because I mean, lore wise, it's actually my favorite character.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love it, but it's also the Alethea faction is the one faction I have that is 100% complete. I have every figure
Yeah.
from that faction, so it's one of the few where I would want the 1.0 and a 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I will admit, at least unless it's somehow different in hand, I really feel the 2.0 looks better in comparison.
Um. Oh, I mean, it's a stunning figure. That cape
Yeah,
is phenomenal. The translucent head is bonkers. Like it just looks really really cool.
yeah,
I just like the blood armor on the 1.0 kind of looks like there's blood on it. Like it looks
yeah,
blood stained, whereas the new one, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe in hand it'll sort of have that effect too, but it just feels like it's kind of red. And that's part of the draw of that deco. But like I said, I mean, that's such an easy paint job for somebody
yeah.
to mimic, that I'm not too worried about it. Um, what else did you pick up?
So, one thing I should mention is just about everything came from Mike at eCollectibles. Um,
Yeah,
just
mine too.
I've gotten so much stuff from him that he doesn't have boxes big enough. He has to send stuff separately, which
I,
is
I my last delivery was 2 boxes.
yeah. But another fun one. A little late to the party, but that's okay. Very happy to have it. It's the new Mezco Superman.
Okay. Hmm.
Haven't opened it up yet because I'm in the process of going through my Mezco, again, letting go of some things, got to rearrange
Hmm.
the displays. But he'll be, I might open it up today because I'm excited. I know a lot of people were 50-50 on it. Some people say it's great, some people say it sucks, but I'll judge for myself.
Yeah.
Next one, though, which I'm very excited for, which also I've heard pretty 50-50 things on, but I don't care. It's going to look great. And that's Ghost Rider.
Oh, with the bike, yeah.
With the bike, yeah. Downside is absolute room killer. I am
Hmm.
going to have to really rearrange to fit him in, but that's a centerpiece right there.
Hmm.
It's going to look so cool.
Hmm.
Plus, I got some of the more dark characters, I'd say. So like Blade and Moon Knight, I think would be
Hmm.
really good to go with them. So, and since
Sure.
I already have those figures, so I'm very happy to have Ghost Rider with them.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Though Mezco, Mezco still hasn't grabbed me. There still hasn't been a Mezco figure that I was like, I need that one.
Hmm.
But I mean, they look cool. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they look fine. It's just not my cup of tea. So.
Fair enough, and I think like they have a bit of an advantage in which, in terms of 6-inch scale or 1/12 scale or whatever you want to call it. Um, I think they're the only ones with a higher end Blade, a higher end Ghost Rider,
Mm-hmm.
etc.
Hmm.
Because I think otherwise your only options are Marvel Legends.
Hmm. Hmm. Sure. What else? That can't be it.
Oh no, there's more, but I mean, I've opened things, I've put things on the shelf already. Um, I have a whole box of Star Wars vintage collection in the next room. I still got to open up and
Hmm.
figure out the organization there. I got a whole bunch of Storm collectibles in a trade. But I'm actually, I did that trade for the sake of selling them,
Hmm.
which because so I got rid of some stuff to get some stuff so I could sell them. So it was a step in the right direction still.
Makes
um,
sense.
so those are all actually. If I shimmy this way, you can actually see right there. There's a tower of them. There you go. You can see Ryu up top. Yeah, I'll even do this. There we go. You can see Ryu and all that up top, and there's just a
Hmm.
stack of sealed Storm collectible figures. Um,
A lot of stuff.
it is a lot of stuff, and it's happened a few times, but now it's like I opened it all up in one sitting and just went, "Oh no!"
Yeah, exactly.
It's so easy to buy things online, and then when it finally shows up, you go, "Oh, yeah."
Well,
Mm.
and like you and I are both on the west coast of Canada, and the online retailer that we buy from is on the east coast of Canada. So we typically get all of our stuff bundled up, which is why we get 2 boxes worth of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, it would be different if you were getting kind of like 1 or 2 figures a week, but I'll quickly go through my pickups, and then we'll check in with the chat, and then we'll get right into the topic, because I think all of this just leads to the topic.
Yeah.
I got all my War of the Aether Blade stuff as well. So I got all 4 of the builder packs, and I got doubles of a couple of them. I got the Gorgo and Attila 2-pack, and I got a double of that because I got one to open, and I got another one to kind of set aside. For the first time in sort of a very long time, I bought something because I thought there would be sort of trade bait value going forward. That may be how I get my Elf Ranger and my Vorgus, in a few months. We'll see. I also got the map and the coins that went with it because I just love that stuff. I just
Oh
love
yeah.
all the little stuff that comes with stuff. This week as well, not from Mike, but from straight from Savage Crucible. I got my decoder and my dwarf coins, which are just super cool. This thing is really heavy.
Oh yeah,
Like this,
actually, I forgot to show that off. I don't even know where I put it, but I got mine too, and the
yeah,
comic.
Yeah, it's like this is. I knew it was heavy because everybody had said it's heavy, but
Yep.
I didn't anticipate it being as heavy as it is. Anyway, looking forward to like decoding things with that, just because that was just I just think that's fun, and I thought that in the Kickstarter, I didn't go too deep with Savage Crucible in the Kickstarter because I don't have space for it, to be honest.
I
But
know
I
I
got
did.
these, and I got the coins, and I got a couple figures coming up. Um, Looking forward to those.
Also, good for Rob and the team for like getting something to the Kickstarter backers that quickly.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I mean, Wave One, I don't think is that far behind. So
No, I don't think so.
the first wave of figures, I think, is not that far out. He did a really good job. He was in he was in a position where he could do it that way. Not every Kickstarter can do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But he sort of already had you know funds and some capital to kind of invest in that before the Kickstarter even went live. I'd been talking to Rob for months and months and months before the Kickstarter went live, and I was like, soon? And he was like, yeah, maybe. Like he never seemed to be in any sort of rush to even get the Kickstarter up, because he was ahead of the curve in that respect. With
Mhm.
like he had already paid for like all the Wave One molds and stuff like that, I think. So it's just a matter of like getting that stuff into production and getting it going. So this guy, geez. Um, then I got so I've been slowly getting Super 7 TMNT stuff.
Oh yeah.
But there was a weird kind of lull. I mean, War of the Aether Blade was like a big wave, but there hasn't been much, 1 month, one way or the other. So I had a few extra bucks kicking around. So I got a bunch of them. I Also, Super 7 delivered a Donatello. I had a QC issue with my Donatello, and so I got one of those. So I got a second Donatello
Nice.
to fix one QC issue. So basically, I got the so my QC issue was that one of the heads had an issue, and they were like, "Oh, that's no problem. We'll send you out, a new head, no problem." But that was, I can't remember how long ago, 6 months or so, and I wasn't worried about it. I wasn't stressed about it. But I just reached out to them and I said, "Hey, any update?" And they were like, "Nope, we don't have any TA on parts, so we'll just send you a figure." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then a couple days went past, and I was sort of like, "I didn't order from them. How do they have my address?" They're like, "We're gonna send it out. You get it." And I was like, "That doesn't make any sense." But sure enough, it showed up.
Huh.
What I forgot was I had sent them my invoice, my eCollectibles invoice, which has my mailing address on it. So they just mailed it to my mailing address, no problem. So I got that one. And then I finally got Leonardo. Like, I'd been sort of dragging my feet to complete the turtles even. But I've got him. Stay tuned. I'm gonna unbox that Super 7 Leonardo, and my 7-year-old is gonna unbox her Best Action Leonardo. So
Nice.
that should be fun. I don't know what we're gonna film it. It'll be a premiere. It won't be a live one because she'd be way too distracted to do that. And then I got Slash as well, which is still in box, because I want to take my time with that one. I just heard that one was awesome. It wasn't 100% on my list, but as I'm sort of checking off all the ones that I needed in my collection, there was a few that kept popping up, and I'd see the reviews. And actually, Jacob from Toy Anxiety was getting like the goofy, costumed ones only. Like, he's not
Oh
even
yeah.
getting the normal turtles. He's just getting the goofy ones. So I got Samurai Leo, and I may get Space Cadet Raphael. But I got Sewer Surfer Mike because he's just like, this is a figure that I remember getting the vintage figure as a kid. I got it at a Safeway in Richmond, BC. My we would go down to Vancouver. Vacation's the wrong word. My mom used to have to go down to Vancouver to work, and so she'd get a hotel room, and she'd be like, she would take me, like I was, older, so she would take me, or she would take my brother, whatever. Like we would go down pretty regularly. Um, and I remember it could have been that. It could have been earlier than that. I can't remember. But I remember getting it. It was in Safeway in Richmond, and it was, they don't really do this as much anymore, but you'd go down the aisle and they'd have those things just hanging off the shelf of
Yep.
like toys, just random stuff. And I got that, and I remember, opening it and playing with it in the pool at the hotel, and all the stickers disintegrating within like a week because I used it in a pool, which I'm pretty sure those stickers weren't really meant for that. I got Rocksteady to sort of
Nice.
add. I just such a classic. This guy is big and chunky and
Yeah.
heavy, and his articulation. I did the whole unboxing with Bebop, and had the same sort of feeling about it. That this is not an SH Figure Arts or an AWOC figure in terms of articulation and stuff like that. But damn, it's a cool figure.
It's really cool.
Super super fun. I love that he's kind of in proper scale to the turtles relative to like the media, right? Versus like the figures were all the same size, so you kind of forgot that they were huge or whatever. And then I got one more on my desk here, and this was just like one of those. This is what I love about the Super 7 TMNT Ultimates line. The fact that we're getting characters and figures that kind of weren't figures that everybody needed back then, but now kind of have something like legendary status. So I got Scratch the Cat. I have no interest in the $500 vintage figure, but this is an awesome action figure. The cake gun, the fish that he comes with, like he comes with a file. He comes with a bag of money. Like it's just such a fun action figure. And sometimes they don't have to be more than that. Sometimes they don't have to be the best articulation or like the newest deco or like the most accurate to whatever. At least for me, sometimes an action figure can just be a cool action figure.
For sure.
Which is what gets me into trouble sometimes.
I've definitely bought things on impulse going, this looks so cool, and then I have nowhere to put it.
I just basically said like half these were impulse buys. But impulse buys, I always say that like I don't do impulse buys in the sense of like I see it for the first time and I order it right away. Like I've known that these figures existed for a long time, and I've kind of been like thinking I didn't need them or didn't want them or whatever, but I was like, you know what, like you only live once, right?
Yeah.
And I've already budgeted out for all the waves of AWOC that are coming, and I have a pretty good idea of what's coming for G.I. Joe Classified and Mythic Legions. You've got 3 years between sort of the pre-order period when they deliver.
It feels like it.
It feels like it. So there's always sort of time there to sort of adjust. But anyway, let's take a look at who's hanging out. Payne's Toy Samples is here. Ostradamus Toys is here. Quip says Yerp, correctly spelled with a P on the end. Renato is hanging out. What's going on, Renato? Scott Baker is hanging out on time. I will point out that Scott did not arrive with like 2 minutes left in the show. I'm scanning through to see names before I sort of go back to read comments. Kelly is here as well. Alberto Morales. Kayla Silva in the house. Smack that like, y'all. Yes, please. Yes, please. And Brick Something is here, editing at the same time. I know what Brick is editing. Brick is editing the second episode of AWOC Talk. So stay tuned for that. We had a lot of fun. We had initially sort of intended to do like issue 1 in the first episode, issue 2 in the second episode, we realized that there was more stuff in issue 1 that we wanted to talk about, and the issue 2 had way too much stuff as well. So we cover kind of the first bit of issue 2, but it was a lot of fun, and I'll put out, post a link to that. That one's going to be on Brick's channel sooner rather than later, or so I believe. Mr. Wonderful says, "Please spoon me," and if you get that reference, good for you. I was on Payne's Toy Samples show on Friday, and I showed off my spoon collection, and so that's where that joke comes from. I shouldn't have explained it. It's probably funnier if you had to like just try to figure it out yourself. But let's see. Sorry, I'm gonna go back now and then sort of see if there was any questions or anything. Somebody mentioned something about. I'm just trying to catch up. It'll take me a second, but I'll get there. Somebody, yeah, there it is. Scott Baker said, "Got my Aether Blake orcs from eCollectibles on the way to Texas right now. Actually ended up being cheaper than Big Bag Toy Store, even with shipping." I keep trying to tell people that the exchange rate works out incredibly well for Americans and incredibly badly for Canadians. But simple math doesn't work for everybody, so I guess that's the. I kid. It's different for everybody. Scott also said Sewer Surfing Mikey is one of my favorites. Man, it's such a good figure. Again, just like that scratch, it's like one of those figures where if I never had that figure, it wouldn't, my life wouldn't be worse. But having it on the shelf is just awesome. The neons are so bright. The surfboard is so cool. And it's so true to the vintage figure, which is what I love. They added a bit of color. There's a couple spots where they could have added more color, but the fact that they added the little leash on an elastic band so that the surfboard sort of is attached to him is pretty cool as well. But Scott also said, "I'm waiting on a lot of the Super 7 Ultimate stuff now, starting to find it at discounted prices." Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's part of it too. Is that a lot more for people in the U.S. By the time a lot of those deals get converted to Canadian dollars, you get shipping on there, you get duties, and on and on and on. It doesn't always end up being a better deal, at least from what I've found. So yeah, I thankful to Mike that he gave me a little bit of a break on these, but it kind of worked out to be about the same as if I would try to get one of those deals, but just without the hassle. Alberto says, "AWOC Talk is a great show, lots of fun." Yes, it is. It's like I make this suggestion. Ultimately, it's up to Brick because he's the one that does the editing, and that shows on his channel. But I said what we should do once we finish the first story arc is do like a bloopers and sort of outtakes video, because like so much stuff gets taken out of the video that's just like us screwing up or saying something that like the other one's like that's not accurate, or just totally forgetting that we've already said something or whatever. It's funnier than how I'm explaining it. But and there it is. Brick says episode 2 should be up by tomorrow, so stay tuned. Like I said, to Brick Something's channel, go subscribe, hit the notification button so that so you don't miss it. I will definitely post links to it on the Instagram and the Facebook page and stuff too. So you shouldn't miss it. We'll post it in the AWOC groups as well and various other groups. Quip says, "I've been eyeballing the Super 7 Turtles in disguise. If I had to pick one figure to represent the 90s, it would be Super Surfer Mike." Yes, 100%. The Samurai Leo is pretty cool too. I will say that. I would love for them to do the sewer spitting turtles in Super 7 Ultimates as well. I don't need them to spit. I don't need that function, that gimmick. But that deco, the kind of like beach vacation deco, I thought those ones were a lot of fun as well. But Nolan's hanging out. What's going on, Nolan? Quip says, I've been holding off because I don't think Super 7 will get to make the Donatello in disguise now that they're beefing with Playmates. Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed that they did Raphael in disguise as a Big Bad Toy Store exclusive, and they didn't do Donatello in disguise. But again, because I'm not a completist, I'm not really that fussed. Like, my intention now is to get sort of one in disguise version of each, because I got Samurai Leo, Sewer Surfing Mike. I don't know which version of Donatello I want or I would get. I want the Donatello in disguise. If they do that, I would 100% get that one. And then Raphael, I had Space Cadet Raph. So that's where I'm sort of like, do I just get that one and be done with it? And then I think that was the wave. Like, I think that was all four of them from the same wave, if I'm not mistaken. Quip, you might know the answer to that. Maybe you can answer in the comments there for me. But Oz says, I loved the Sewer Samurai Leo as a kid. He was like battle armor He-Man. Yeah, I loved it too, because it just felt like a samurai version of Leo. And I actually wanted, a version of all of them. And then thankfully, but also unfortunately, we got, the Ninja Turtles 3 samurai versions, which, for better or worse, I still like that movie for what it is. It's terrible. It's very poorly done, but it's a lot of fun. Oz says, I want blooper reel content. So do I. We'll see. We'll see. It'll probably all mysteriously get lost and get damaged or something, and there won't be any footage. But we'll see. All right. Couple pieces of news. First up, Defenders of Eden, Armies of Ashmore is at it's funded. Now
Yep.
it's just icing on the cake, right? So I'm really hoping that they get to their next goal of 150,000, because that means I can get Ghost Milwick, and that's the figure that I want most, because translucent figures are awesome. And I love that, we have the possibility to get that. I think they could make it. There's a week left in the Kickstarter, and the last day or two of a Kickstarter is notoriously going to see, a decent spike. I just hope that it can get to the 150. If it doesn't, it's still funded. There's still some really, really great stuff in there. But just for, like I said, for personal reasons, I really hope that they hit that 150. For sort of the reasons of supporting Matthew and the project, I hope that they get 200,000. We'll see. Now, the Defenders of Eden, you held off on this, right? You got Savage Crucible coming. You've got more Mythic Legion stuff coming.
Yeah.
Probably more video game fighter whatever stuff coming.
I had to take a second, like, what is he talking about? Oh yeah, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, yeah. Yeah, it basically, it just comes down to you can't collect everything.
You can't collect everything. Yeah, absolutely. This is one of those where day one, my line was, I can't collect everything. Then I started chatting with Matt, and I was like, yeah, but I want to support Matt. it's the more I learned about it, the more I wanted to back it, just for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
I've said this several times, but like, dinosaurs don't really do much for me. But I think I can make room for one or two of these on my shelf. So. They're just fun. I have so much respect for IPs that sort of people can come up with, and this is something that Matt and his team have been doing for years and years and years. You know, they've got the lore, they've got the world building down. You know, Armies of Ashmore is just sort of one component with Defenders of Eden. There's other, you know, there's other races and species and other dinos even that are just on different bucks, and this was sort of their. They felt that this was the easiest way, the most concise way to sort of get into the market. And so, you know, there's the 5 dinos, there's the blanks, there's a Kickstarter exclusive, there's some weapons packs, so there's a whole bunch of stuff. um you know, you can just go and back the comic books as well. So, you know, if you don't necessarily want the figures but you're interested in comic books, I think you can you know, pledge for sort of less money and get, you know, you still get something for not that much money. But yeah, if you're into dinos and action figures and original IPs, I would strongly recommend you consider it, because every little bit helps get to 150,000 so that I can get Ghost Dick the dinosaur. um, Next up, this is like the biggest one. This is like the biggest thing for me personally, that sort of came up, and I don't even know if it was like this week or sort of tail end of last week, but I haven't mentioned it yet. The new Heat Boys Mecha Michelangelo to go along with the Heat Boys Mecha Leo, that I am waiting on, patiently waiting on, but very very excited to get. This guy is just bonkers amounts of weapons. He definitely has like a Gundam Wing, heavy arms Gundam vibe going on, with all the sort of missile launchers and shoulder, you know, rockets and chest machine guns, and just like so loaded. And the designs of these are really really good. The reviews that I've heard of Leo, the Mecha Leo, are all overwhelmingly good as well. So I'm looking forward to getting this guy. And when the pictures came through, uh, it was like I you know, having gotten the Leo on pre-order already. Um, you know, if you're getting turtles, you kind of know if you're getting one, you're getting four.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just so. I've seen all the designs for all 4 of them, and I want all 4 of them. As a Gundam builder and a big fan of Gundam, and a big fan of Ninja Turtles, this was like one of those crossovers that you never knew you needed until it was presented to you. And these just look like they're just so much fun. They're just so cool. And then we're gonna get Shredder as well. So, so then, I mean, if you get the turtles, you gotta get Shredder. You gotta get at least one bad guy too. So, um, did you order the Leo or?
Nah, but I mean, I'm not a turtles guy either, so it didn't make
Yeah,
any sense for me.
no, fair enough. Um, yeah, just so many pictures of just so much stuff. Like there's so many little details that are just so cool. These rotate, so the little barrels of the guns rotate. You use the pizza slice that turns on the lights for his eyes,
Oh,
uh,
cool.
to get rotation on the barrel. Um, yeah, just really really cool interpretation of Ninja Turtles. You know, it's interesting too because this is like an approved thing. Like this isn't a weird third party knockoff product that, you know, isn't endorsed by Nickelodeon, because Nickelodeon, you know, owns Ninja Turtles. So this is like in partnership with Nickelodeon, which is pretty wild. I mean, we've seen interpretations. Wow, we've got Sewer Surfer Michelangelo. Now we have, you know, Mecha Michelangelo. Different vibes for different eras. But Kato's collection reviews, popping in to say hi, and then I'll catch the replay. Well, thank you for stopping in, Kato. I appreciate that. Um, let's see what else is going on in the comments. Sorry, the comments are getting away from me because I was looking at a different screen. Yes, Scott said Wolf King Customs is also already showing 3D printed parts for the Armies of Ashmore. They look pretty good. And then, oh yeah, I missed a whole bunch of chat. Man, you guys are blowing up the chat. Okay. Let me pull this down, and we'll pull some of the chat stuff up. If there's anything that you saw that you want me to pull up, let me know. But yeah, Brick says we could do a blooper reel. It's not Cannonball Run or anything. Oz says, yeah, there's a flood and it soaked the box with cut footage. Yeah, all the tapes were on silver nitrate tape, and they all got worn out. Yeah.
No, I see. Brick asked me about how many Storm collectibles I've pre-ordered in the last 2 months, and I'll say all of them.
Yeah.
Even like the non-Mortal Kombat ones, I've oh god, I can't remember. I can't see. I don't even know what I'm collecting anymore. I think it was a character called like Blue something. Again, like I had no idea who the character was or anything, but it's Storm collectibles and it looks awesome. So I'm like, yeah, okay. Oh, and Soul Calibur. Okay, the Soul Calibur stuff. I'm stoked for that.
I think that's like, I think Storm's got that going for them, that, you know, if you're sort of into one of their lines, you're probably into all of their lines. And the argument that I've heard is that like people that sort of haven't bought into Storm collectibles, a big part of it is that Storm doesn't really scale with any other lines, but because it scales with itself, you can kind of have all your fighting game characters kind of intersect, right? So you can have, you know, you can have your
I'll say it. You can have your Scorpion versus Mitsurugi from Soul Calibur.
Yeah. So you can sort of have those crossover, you know, setups and do the pictures and do the dials and stuff that you never had actually on a screen. So a lot of people, you know, showing a lot of love for Armies of Ashmore. Nolan says, I'm still thinking about getting the red guy. Him and the yellow guy are my favorite. Yeah, the yellow guy is the one that I backed. And if they open up the Milwick, the Kickstarter exclusive Milwick, I'll probably grab that one as well. And then I'm going to get a blank as well, just because I think that's cool. I just like the idea of that. That'll kind of sit on my shelf with sort of prototype stuff and test shot stuff and stuff like that. I know that it's not a test shot, but you know, it has the look. So, and it's Kickstarter exclusive, so it's kind of in that same vein at least. Payne says I have to stop adding to my pre-order because I think I'm full. Yeah. Yeah, Nolan says, who doesn't like dinos? And then the anthropomorphic dinos, no contest. Yes, exactly. Oz said about the Michelangelo Heavy Arms was my second favorite to Epion. Interesting.
Oh yeah, Epion was really cool.
Epion is ridiculously good. And they're doing a real grade Epion kit.
Oh, nice.
That looks
Tall Geese was my favorite.
I've been doing the master grade kits, but now I got to go back and get the real grade, like Wing Gundam, to get the Epion. I was like, oh well, just add it to my backlog.
I was in a hobby store and I found like you know, just a regular high grade Zaku, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And I see it like, oh, it's $12. That's really tempting.
Yeah, that's the first version of the Zaku. Don't get that one. Get the one that's like $18 from the Origins line. It's phenomenal.
Huh.
Like one of the best high grade kits for sure.
Awesome.
Either the Origins one or they actually just re-released the Zaku, like a version 2 of that, and it's again phenomenal. It just doesn't have as much detail as the Origins one. Quip said those Heat Boys TMNT mechs are fire. They absolutely are. And like I said, you know, I don't have one in hand yet, but you know, I got Leo on the way. I got Mikey on pre-order, so Quip says, I want them all. Yeah, again, and it's like if you get one, I mean, I guess if you have a favorite turtle and you can just get the one that's your favorite turtle, but yeah, who are we kidding? I mean, it's so different than anything we've seen from turtles before that I think there's people that are just like, yeah, not my thing, not my turtles. And then people that are just like, I'll take a whole line of these. Scott says, looking forward to reviews of these guys. I think, I'm not sure if he means the turtles, but there are a few reviews out there for Leo. They and like I said, they are. I haven't seen a bad one yet, but the one thing I have seen is people complain about the battery. The battery that you have to get for it is like not super easy to find. It's not that it's hard to get. Like you can get them on Amazon, but if you're getting the turtles, look into the battery size now and order your batteries now, because otherwise you're going to be sitting waiting with your figure in hand, like waiting for your batteries so you can turn on this eyeball lights. Quip says, yeah, they're a little pricey, but they look to have high quality. They look to be, yeah, they're like, I think they said Leo's like 1 kilo, like 1
Oh,
kilogram,
big boy.
2.2 pounds of action figure. There's a bunch of metal in there. There's tons of plastic, like, and everything that I've heard is that they feel like they're made well. I mean, they're designed incredibly well. They're designed as well or better than pretty much any Gundam model that I've ever seen. So, but pre-built and pre-painted, and so on and so forth. Oz says, yeah, agreed. We caught off guard that Gundam Turtles needed to have an fab there, but oh yeah, good call. A Nickelodeon like Gundam Turtles cartoon. That, yeah, even just like a mini series, right? Like a Netflix or an Amazon Prime series or something like that. Or they're I think Turtles is through Paramount, right? So whoever, I don't care who does it as long as I can watch it. What's going on, Ted? Listening while he drives. Good man. Don't watch while you drive. Brick said, I'm living through Austin. I love Storm collectibles. Have to be selective. Not nearly as selective as I should be, but
Nice thing about Storm is, well, like a lot of these big toy lines, I feel like they're spaced out enough that I can get everything, but it just depends when other things come out too.
yeah, that's it. That's a lot of these pre-orders, a lot of and people talk about this all the time, and we haven't even talked about the topic. We'll get there soon enough. I'm just gonna skip the rest of the news stuff once we sort of get through the comments here, but because it's not even that interesting. I was gonna say, isn't it cool that we're getting a GI Joe classified HasLab, but it doesn't matter. I already talked about that last week too. So, Oz says Tall Geese was third favorite. Now Adam's gonna make me go Gunpla. Look, you can go Gunpla pretty cheap, and the thing that I still love about Gunpla is that like it's relaxing. You can kind of decompress and just sort of sit down and like take your time with a kit, or you can just snap build the whole thing and like build an action figure in an afternoon, which is fun too. Just depends on sort of what you want to do. I find the reason that I have the backlog is because I take way too much time to build mine. Oz says, but does my turtle match my mech? What's Raph gonna be like? I don't know. I don't quite understand that. Maybe I missed sort of what I said when you were sort of typing that comment. So, yeah. If I get Gunpla, I'm gonna have to go back to buy my Zoids. Yeah, that's the other thing. You start getting like all those mechs, because they're mechs too. You can kind of cross them over. Like scale is less important when you're just sort of picking and choosing. The turtles, I think, are basically master grade. Like they're kind of the same size as the 1/100 Gundam kits. Now whether they're the same scale, I don't know. I'm looking forward to getting one because they do come with the little turtles, so I'll compare a little turtle to a little pilot from a master grade, and then I'll kind of have a better idea of like what the actual scale is, because I don't know that I've seen it anywhere. So, all right. So we're caught up on the comments. I think if I missed your comment, I apologize. I missed a whole bunch of them. If if the HasLab is a dragonfly, are you grabbing one?
I got
Talk
no
about not
room.
enough space.
Yeah, I got no room. Like I had initially backed his tank, and I actually
Mhm.
backed out on the last day. And I'm kind of kicking myself, but at the same time, I just know I was going to run into that issue. It's like, where would I put that thing? I have one
Mhm.
HasLab. It's the Razor Crest. I love it.
Mhm.
It's not going anywhere. But it's
Mhm.
like that's the only room I got for something that big. I can't justify getting anything else that's even remotely close to that size.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the big one. Like that's the big question. Like the concern that I have is like the size, and if it is in fact the dragonfly, and I don't know that it is, but the overwhelming consensus seems to be that all things sort of point to the dragonfly. Um, I have a shelf that I think it will fit just about perfectly on, which I was gonna use for something else, but we'll see. When they release it, when they reveal it, I hope they give the dimensions, because I need to know where I'm going to put it before I'm going to buy it. The only other concern that I have is price.
Yeah, of
GI Joe
course.
has labs. The pricing has been reasonable. Um, Other IPs have had less than reasonable pricing recently, so I don't know. I'm on the fence. For reasons that we're going to talk about. I mean, we don't have any room left as it is.
Yeah,
I've said this before. Like I don't like having things in bins. If it's in a bin, I may as well not own it. So that's
yeah.
when, if it's in a bin with the intention of it being fodder, that's one thing. If it's in a bin with the intention of me selling it, that's another thing. But in a bin for the sake of I don't want to get rid of it and it's just sitting around, it's like what good does that do me? It's odd to have a collection of things that I never see.
It is.
At least for me. Everybody's different, and if you have a storage locker with all your toys in it, good on you. If that's how you want to collect, but I think you and I are similar. But Austin, you when we were discussing what we were going to talk about this week, you said, "What do we? How about we talk about, letting go of our toys? Like, how do you decide what to let go of? When do you decide to let go of it? What do you do with it?
Hmm.
It is also an interesting thing, because I think different collectors are different in that respect too. I know that. Uh, well, we'll get into it. What initial thoughts, Austin? When you get too much stuff, what do you do?
Well, there's a couple ways to approach it. I feel at the end of the day, um, if you have too much stuff, and I mean like too much stuff where like you can't put it anywhere in your display, you can't put it anywhere in storage or
Mhm.
whatever. Like you have too much stuff. The only answer is to get rid of it. And then it turns into how do you get rid of it? There's the people that do the garage sale, like buy this big box for $10. I just want it gone. There's
Mhm.
the approach I'm doing right now, where I'm not in a huge rush to get rid of things,
Yeah.
so I'm putting things online on Facebook to see if I can get maximum value or close to maximum value, kind
Mhm.
of almost treat like an investment. If you spent $35 on a figure and you sold for 50, boom, that's profit, fantastic.
Mhm.
um Other times, almost kind of like that middle point between garage sale and game maximum value is selling your stuff but just kind of trying to get your money back.
Mhm.
And lots of times, depending on when the thing was released, you might not get your money back. Like if you
Mhm.
can still find things at Walmart, Toys R Us, Amazon, online, wherever, like you're not going to sell anything above retail if people can still pay retail.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
sometimes you go, do I hang on to this thing and see if it goes up in price, or do I sell it at a loss just to get rid of it?
Yeah.
So that's I'm in that spot and the maximum value spot. With maximum value, it's the like higher end import figures, Figuarts, Medicom,
Hmm.
Mafex, Mezco. Try to get as much as you can. Um, Pretty soon, I'm going to start unloading Marvel Legends, but I'm going to go cheaper because I just
Hmm.
have so many of them, and I
Hmm.
just don't want to be sending out one or two figures
Yeah. Yeah.
every
Yeah.
day. I'd rather send out 10 in a box just to get rid of some stuff. Um, and eventually, if I still have stuff I need to get rid of, there's a toy show in Victoria, which is
Hmm.
about 40 minutes away from where I live, and I'm humoring getting a table and just
Hmm.
getting rid of some stuff. But either way, it's the I just got too much crap, and I gotta get rid of some of it. And the things that are like the things that go on the chopping block. The first obvious ones are: do I have it on display? No, get it gone. Like what you were
Yeah.
saying, if it's in a
Yeah.
box tucked away somewhere, why even have it?
Yeah.
The other thing was I kind of came to a realization the other day where I took a picture of my Sentinel Peter B. Parker Spider Man,
Hmm.
which was my figure of the year last year. And I
Hmm.
have taken quite a few photos of that figure. And I go, I've taken, you know, like I've posted maybe 4 photos. I've taken more, but I think I've posted about 4 photos of this figure on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I have other Spider Man figures I've never taken a photo of. It's like, do I need them? And I finally decided I don't.
Right.
Right, like I got my definitive, like I call it normal Spider-Man, like the tried and true red and blue comic book style, which is the Mafex classic Spider-Man.
Hmm.
So I don't need a whole bunch of these Marvel Legends ones. I don't need the Mafex black suit one. I don't need the Amazing
Hmm.
Yamaguchi one. I don't need the Iron Spider one from Amazing
Hmm.
Yamaguchi, etc., etc., etc. Um, and yeah, get rid of a lot of duplicates. Get rid of stuff in storage, get rid of stuff I don't take photos of,
Hmm.
which is a lot. And there's still a lot of things I look at and go, I'm going to keep it for now.
Yeah. 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 Well, that's yeah. So I mean, for me, I think I'm a little bit different because I still kind of look at my collection as a collection of toys. I don't really necessarily even know the value of some of them,
Mm,
like aftermarket, because I have it. Why would I need to know what the aftermarket price is? So I have a tendency to like sell things low because
yeah,
I have a tendency to kind of go, well, I got this for $40 or $50. If I get 60, I'm ahead.
yeah, you're in the
And
green. Woo.
somebody's like, why are you selling that for so little? And I'm like, it's more than I paid for it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not losing anything. And if I always hope that it can go to somebody that is gonna appreciate it and like it's gonna be on their display. You know what I mean? And it's sort of like if it can come out of a bin and I get my money back and it's going to be on display and sort of one of their prized possessions or whatever, then I'd way rather that be the case.
Hmm.
It's like Andy from Toy Story giving his toys away. I'm not giving them away, but like the idea that like this item might have a second life somewhere else,
Yeah.
not a real life. Don't worry, I know that that's not a document. Toy Story is not a documentary, but um it's like it's more rewarding to me to sort of get it to somebody that's excited about it
Yeah.
than maybe get more money for it. Which sounds weird. Everybody's different. I'm right on the verge of completely liquidating my vintage GI Joes because I was having this conversation with on Payne's Toy Samples video on Friday night that I think I was having this conversation recently, but anyway, I I feel like those are collectibles. Like I have an aversion to playing with them now because
Yeah.
they are, I know that they're worth money, like which they're not. I mean, most of them aren't worth more than like an SH Figure Arts figure. So they're not. I play with my SH Figure Arts figures. I play with my Mythic Legions figures with my kids. Like, I'm not worried about that in that respect, but there's something about them being vintage, being old, being a little more fragile, a little bit more brittle, where I'm sort of like, I don't necessarily want something in my collection that I'm worried about it getting damaged. Like,
Mhm.
if I feel like something isn't going to get played with, then I don't need it
Yeah.
anymore. And as classified grows as well, I'm just like, so what I've been doing is taking like when I get a new classified figure, I take a picture of the classified figure with the vintage figure. So I'm really kind of just holding on to some of these vintage figures with that in mind. Not because I necessarily want to keep the vintage figure anymore. It's just because like I'm just looking on the shelf to start, like Shipwreck is a good example, right? Like I got a beautiful Shipwreck vintage. But once the new classified one comes, I don't need that one anymore once I've
Yeah.
taken the picture. You know, I'm looking at a pretty nice, version 1 Storm Shadow, and I'm like, what am I going to do with that? I got the re-release from Hasbro that I play with because I don't feel, like it's fragile or whatever. And I'm just sitting on it. And part of it is because I know that it's worth like something
Mhm.
more than like what I think is realistically like I'm sitting here thinking like I would sell it for $50 even though it's worth more because I can't justify buying it for more than that. But then it's sort of like, but do I want to just liquidate this stuff and do I just sell it as a lot to somebody that I know that like could resell it, or do I piece it out, and like how do I do?
Yeah.
And that's where it just gets like the time it takes to do family stuff first, and then yard work, and then garden and other work, and then videos. I have so little time. The idea, I've done claim sales before, in Facebook groups, and it's just like it's so time consuming.
Yep.
I would rather do it in lots. Once a week I'll just post something and I'll be like, here's 10 figures, it's this price, take it or leave it. Or post just a post of like 10 figures, what sells that week, great. Next week, anything that didn't sell, is $5 less, and it goes in the next week's pile, and I
Yeah.
do 10 figures that way, kind of thing. I don't know, and then I just have this thing where I procrastinate and I just never sell anything, and it just starts piling up with price tags on it because I'm too busy with other stuff.
Yeah, like it can. If I got together every single thing I would consider to sell and got them all boxed up and pictures taken and prices figured out, that's a couple of weeks long
Mhm.
project at least. Like if I have to, work or I'm too tired after work to do it, or gotta hang out with my girlfriend, or I gotta paint Warhammer for a tournament.
Mhm.
So I'm doing it in baby steps, in which there was just a couple of figures. I just grabbed a couple. And I went, okay, I'm gonna put these up for sale, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna say in the post I'm making on Facebook, hey, selling these 3 figures, these are the prices, blah blah blah. And at the end, I'm
Yeah.
also going to be selling more. If there's anything you're looking for, just ask me. Maybe I have it. And I even
Yeah.
said like
Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't want to pack it up right now. Um, so I find that's helped. Because again, if I boxed everything right now, it's just too much time.
Yeah.
So I think I got, even then I still got a lot of things for sale right now. I think I had like 20 figures for sale, and that's like a
Mhm.
small fraction of what I'm trying to sell.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, baby steps. I've moved some stuff already, gotten some stuff out of the house, which is good. Until all this crap showed up, now I'm annoyed again.
Yeah. 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 Yeah,
um,
that's I got this stuff, and then I was like, okay, now I gotta be mindful of that and put some of this stuff up because the amount of turtles that I was gonna have was probably gonna be one shelf, but now I'm realizing like with Sewer Surfer, Mike, and Scratch, I'm like I'm probably gonna end up with 2 shelves worth of these turtles. So then it's
mhm,
like, okay, so something's got to go. There has to be room made on another shelf. AWOC is currently sharing a shelf with Super 7 stuff. I know for a fact that that's not going to last long, because I've got a bunch more Wave 1 stuff coming from eCollectibles really soon. And then all the Wave 2 stuff is coming as well.
Yeah.
And then Wave 3, and
Yep.
then Wave 4 and 5. And then the stuff that I've seen that's coming down the pipeline, that it's just like I was saying on, I actually commented on Ken's TKO episode this morning that if you're sort of on the fence about AWOC now, just wait a couple waves, because the designs for the figures that are coming that sort of haven't been revealed yet, I think a lot of people that are sort of on the fence, I said it's going to violently shove people off the fence. You will,
Hmm.
like, there is some cool stuff coming. Plus the board game, more comic books coming, so on and so forth. So it's just like, yeah, I'm also sort of taking a proactive approach and sort of looking at like what's coming, not
Yeah.
just in the next box, but what's coming in 3 months or 6 months or in a year. Um, if there's another classified HasLab, where's that going to go?
Yeah.
So the more I can do now to sort of get ahead of the curve, the better, right? Because like you said, it builds up and builds up, and you end up in this position where you're like, now I have too much stuff and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like, and then you're on Hoarders, and
Yeah.
they're like, how
Yeah.
did this happen? And you're like, I know exactly how that happened to that person. It wasn't a problem on the first day. It wasn't even a problem on the 30th day.
Yeah.
But 20 years later, they're on TV for all the wrong reasons.
Like I look at my situation, like I live with my parents, right? And like I got
Mhm.
stuff everywhere. And at some point, like sooner rather than later, I want to move out. I want to get my own place. And it's like, am I going to bring all that stuff over? Like
Are
I
you gonna
can't
pack it all up and like
yeah.
ship it? Mhm.
Like I can't imagine doing that. So it's like, even if I'm being reluctant about letting certain things go, it's quickly turning into like, even if I'm just humoring selling it, that means
Yeah,
I'm at that
you
point. Just
should.
get rid
That
of it.
means you should. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I can look at certain figures like I mentioned the Sentinel Peter B. Parker, Sentinel Miles Morales, my Mezco Conan figures. At no
Mhm.
point have I thought, oh yeah, I can let these go, or maybe I should let these go. No, I love them. I'm going to keep them. I might even keep them forever. But there's so much other stuff. I'm just kind of like, maybe. And as soon as I hit that maybe, it's like, okay, I should get rid of it.
I'm 100% in agreement with that. And I when I was in university, um, I had a good friend from Japan, and uh, he used to say, like, when people say maybe, what they mean is it's a definitive, but they don't want to express that to you. So
Yeah.
like when somebody says like, hey, do you want to hang out? Are you going to come to this or whatever? Maybe. And what he would say was maybe means no in that respect. But in sort of your case, it's sort of like, should I sell this? Maybe. Maybe means yes, you
Yes.
should. Because like you said, if you've entertained the thought, then that's the hard part. That's the part
Hmm.
where like you've already sort of uh at least for me, right? Like um I have a connection to all the stuff that's in my room here, in my toy room.
Yeah.
And the hard part for me is disconnecting from it emotionally, which sounds weird, but
I'm with
you
you,
know
100%.
objectively, that's the biggest hurdle to selling things. Once you get past the idea that you could not have it in your collection, then it's just making time to take the pictures and to
Mhm.
post it and to whatever. um but yeah, the biggest thing is deciding that you're going to do it,
Yeah.
and then you're that much further ahead. But yeah, but I can't find the time, and I don't want to do it like, I also I'm the type of person where like I don't want to just like throw stuff up there randomly and sort of without
Mhm.
any forethought of like, okay, Is this all that I'm going to sell? Like you said, you put stuff up there and said, I'm going to be selling more stuff. If there's anything else you want, let me know. I've kind of done that. And then people are like, do you have this? And I'm like, no. Somebody else is like, do
Yeah.
you have this? And I'm like, no. And then I'm just like, this is a waste of my time. This is
Yeah.
a worse waste of my time
I've
than
run
what
into
I
that
would
too,
have done.
where I had a guy, I was selling some Storm collectibles, and a guy messaged me and goes, "Oh, do you have this, 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 and this?" I went, "No, no, no, and no."
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then he goes, "Oh, thanks anyways." I'm like, okay, well, that was a waste of time. But the other thing I
Mhm.
did was, like, I'm part of a lot of group chats. So that helps because suddenly I don't have to pack up these figures. I don't have to do the timestamp. I just take pictures of
True.
my collection. And I did this the other day. I took a picture of my Mezco figures, all my shelves, and just
Hmm.
put red X's over the stuff that I'm keeping.
Hmm.
And I said, if anyone's interested in any of these figures, if I don't have a red X on them, let me know. And I think I
Hmm.
sold 5 just from doing that without even posting. So that was nice.
Are you selling the Wolverine?
No, I am keeping him. I don't care what you say. He's awesome.
You should be selling it. That was what I was gonna say. Um, Payne's Toy Sample says the "What's Coming" made me cancel the Monster Force figures I had on pre-order. Um, yeah, that's where I'm at. And we've talked before about like the fact that there's too much stuff. There's
Yeah,
too many lines. You can't collect it all. And while it's appealing, to go like, oh, this is a new line. Like I'm gonna grab a couple figures. The way I display things um actually helps me in a way because I go, okay, where would it go? And if the answer is nowhere, like would it bump something off a shelf? That makes it easy to not buy it.
yeah,
The problem is, the lines that I do really love. Like I'm looking at my SH Figure Arts Dragon Ball shelf, which is full, and I have 6 or 7 figures on pre-order, and I'm like, it's gonna get real cozy in there real quick. That's gonna end up 2 shelves.
yeah.
Directly above that is a vintage GI Joe shelf, and that's where I'm kind of looking at like, well, I mean, what would I rather have on that shelf? And it might not be vintage Joe's. Um, I do still technically have room high up to put a couple more shelves, but I don't necessarily want to do that, right? Like you
Yeah.
don't necessarily want to just end up in this really claustrophobic space.
That's the
Um,
other thing. I had shelves that were packed for a while, and when I started to rearrange things, I wasn't selling at that point, but I put things in the storage. Just how much nicer the shelves looked, and now I
yeah,
kind of, and then they started to get cramped again. I went, no, no, okay, no, 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 let's pull back a little.
yeah,
Oh,
there
and
is,
brick, to answer your question, a shocking amount. I
yeah. Probably more people asking about those than the ones that you said are sort of on offer.
yeah.
Um, Brick says, "I say we all stop buying toys and start looking at the collectible spoon market." I'm just saying they don't take up that much space. Um, you could put them on a wall. You don't need a lot of wall space to put a lot of spoons up. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Um,
One thing I want to bring up, since you mentioned earlier, was like the emotional attachment. One thing that kind of helped me get over that hurdle was, well, in this case, trading, but
mhm.
getting rid of your most valuable figures. And I don't mean valuable in the sense for like emotional value. I mean monetary value. And
Good.
for
Yeah,
me,
good point.
I was hands down my Mythic Legions, Keltis, and Adamon.
Hmm.
Like, I was like, I'm never going to get rid of these figures. They're my favorite. They're so cool, and they were fantastic. But then Mike goes, "I'll give you Razor Crest for them." And so I finally, and I actually, I made him wait for a day or two because like I was like, I'm not sure. I'm like, oh my god, it's the HasLab Razor Crest. Oh my
Yeah.
god. Um, and I finally decided I'm going to do it. And I think I said to Tyler, my brother, I think the logic is if I can let go of these 2 figures, I can let go of anything in my collection.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
did. I let them go. I did the trade. And I don't sit here and go, oh, I wish I still had those. I shouldn't have done that
Hmm.
trade. It's just after a while you kind of forget about them.
Yeah, I did. That's a good point too. Is that like there's I think a lot of times we feel like if I don't have this in my collection anymore, like I will have a hole in my collection
Mhm.
that's that shape and size. But interest shifts, and the thing that's at the top of your list, priority wise, can shift.
Yeah.
And it's so my example is my Sir Valgard, and I have Sir Valgard, and it's a cool figure, but it's by no means like my favorite figure in my collection. And I also know roughly, like, I've seen a couple pop up recently for sale, and I'm like, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
But then I'd have a dwarf sized hole in my Mythic Legions collection. And again, it's like, doubling down on it too, because it's Kickstarter exclusive. They said they're never going to do it again. And I'm just like, oh, there's so many things about it that sort of make me not want to. And the truth is, I probably will never sell it because it is a really cool figure, and because I got tons of other stuff that I could sell first, right? Like I have that one if I ever need, to fund, treatment that's not covered by, the Canadian government, which is few and far between. Thank you, Canada. Um, but stuff like that, right? You hear that, you see that in groups where people are like, "Hey, I have medical expenses I need to cover. I got to sell these prized possessions," and I feel so bad for people.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, it's sort of like, well, luckily you had that collection.
Yeah.
You've slowly been paying into your fund for medical coverage without knowing it for years and years and years,
Mhm.
because you have these assets that you could liquidate, if you need to. And I kind of look at it in that way, that like, if I have a fixed amount of space and I've already filled it up, I've in some ways already spent the money to fill up the space. So really, it's just reallocating, which is why when I say, like, I don't really mind selling something for virtually like what I got it for, is because if I sell a 6-inch figure to buy a 6-inch figure, it's just the carousel is just
Yeah.
turning around, and I'm just um if my collection can sustain itself now, then that's really the ultimate goal, I
And
think,
it's funny
right?
that you say that because I'm trying to do the like full on cut back in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that like I've my most of my pre-orders are paid for. Like they are
Yeah,
paid
me too.
for. I
Yeah.
don't have to worry about them. I'm selling figures not just to make room for them and not just to pay off future pre-orders. It's just, kind of I don't want to sound condescending, but be a bit more adult-ish and do
No, not at all.
save more money by doing that. Like I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to sit here like I've sold 9 figures so far, so nothing crazy, but
Mm-hmm.
I made a very healthy amount on them. And people ask, "Oh, what are you going to do with that money?" I'm like, honestly, I'm saving it. I'm just going to put it to
Yeah,
the side. And
I'm gonna be
I
a
mean, don't get me,
responsible
I might
adult.
spend it anyways, but
Yeah, yeah,
but,
yeah.
but as of right now, it's like, no, I'm going to be just at least somewhat responsible. And
Well, well, I mean, collecting responsibly is a whole different topic, but
yeah, and I'm not good at
um,
that yet.
I look, I give most of my money to my wife, and she makes sure that we don't get evicted, and that we're fed and clothed and all that kind of stuff. So and then sort of what little I have left, pretty much all goes to toys.
There you go.
Brick says, how freeing is that though, when you let go of the toy that you thought you could never go without? I love that feeling. That's I'll be
It's
honest,
good.
that's kind of where I'm at with the vintage Joes, because I sold off my childhood collection, and this was like partly replacing that for kind of nostalgic reasons. And I still love them. So it's really just, I need to get to the point where I decide what number I keep. And I've got
Mhm.
a full set of the like version 1.5 swivel arm figures that I'm going to keep. I've already sort of decided that I'm going to keep those ones. And then there's, you know, lot to choose from, but it's sort of like, how many do I keep going forward? You know, how much shelf space do I dedicate to it going forward? Because I'm at the point where I'm not going to buy more vintage stuff. I've got all the vintage GI Joe stuff that I ever wanted to own. Um, and then Classified came out, and I was like, these are better. So what do I
Yeah.
need both for? But it's still hard because, you know, they're kind of the only line that I have like a big collection vintage wise. Just about everything else that I have is modern. Um, but like I said, it doesn't come off the shelf, so you know,
Yeah.
how much fun am I really having with that part of my collection? Scott said if Sir Valgard ever needs a home, he's got friends here in Texas. You know, I think he'd have friends in just about any place that I offered him to. I'm not worried about that aspect. Um, he's a cool figure, and the other thing too is I look at some things too in terms of like if I was getting rid of my legions, it would be easy.
Oh yeah.
But considering that like Etheron is one of my favorite factions too, it's like he's probably not going anywhere anytime
Yeah, because
fast.
it's not like it's easy to go lots of time. For example, I got rid of Vetus,
Yeah.
but then I got my hands on Pixis for a good price. I went, oh, I kind of want Vetus back. It was very easy to buy another Vetus. Like it
Hmm.
was just
Hmm.
easy. That you won't be buying another Valgard.
No, when I see them go up for sale too, I'll be totally honest. I'm like, that person must have two. Payne's Toy Sample says, letting go of my vintage Star Wars and Power of the Force collection was emotionally freeing as it had negative connection with father and ex-wife.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's that too, right? Like for me, as I said, I sold off my vintage GI Joe collection, like my childhood collection. Um, where like I had a lot of my childhood collection that I had kept for 30, well, I mean not 30 years. I didn't have it for 30 years, but I didn't get rid of it until I was in my 30s. And basically when we were like planning to build this house and sort of packing up our old house, I said this collection has moved from house to house to house, and it's been in bins, and it's just like I just need to kind of free myself of it. I just needed, like you're kind of talking about, right?
Mhm.
I needed to kind of clear the decks a little bit. We built this house, we've moved into this house. I'm never moving again. Which is why, I said like I could put up more shelves, but that's a cop out. If I kind of keep the collection the size, it could probably start, self-sustaining in terms of, sell off a few things to pick up a few things, so on and so forth. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's no end and there's no right way, right? That's the other thing. It's like if you're in your forever home, and your toys theoretically can be as well. If you're planning to move, then maybe you want to change the size of the collection that you have to move, right? Maybe you are a hoarder and you're okay with that. That's also your prerogative. But ultimately, yeah, I think I mean, it's an interesting conversation, right? And I
Mhm.
think the conversation could go on and on and on because everybody's sort of got different ways about it. Everybody's got different connections to their collections, to their toys. You see in groups too, people that like, oh, I'm getting out of this line, which is such a weird thing to me. Like, um, most of the lines that I'm in now, I don't really see myself getting out of. I could see my collections changing over
Yeah.
time. I could see, AWOC wasn't on my radar, a few years ago because it didn't exist. Um, and I could foresee there being another line that kind of comes up at some point where I'm like, oh, now I got to make room for this. Um, but it ebbs and flows, and it's sometimes somebody made a good point in a chat that I was sort of watching, the other day too, that I think it might have been Nolan. I don't know if Nolan's still watching, but that sometimes you just need to step away from it. Like sometimes, you can take time away from being a collector. It sounds crazy because what if you miss a pre-order, or what if you miss, whatever. But there is, there is a sort of a mental health aspect that every once in a while I think we need to hit the reset button and
Yeah.
kind of take stock of what we have and prioritize, what do we want to do with this, right? I think it's easy to just keep ordering, keep pre-ordering, keep kind of building the collection and not sort of thinking about what's going on. But you can get burnt out real fast doing
Oh yeah.
that. Um, at the moment, I think I'm in a pretty good place as far as what I'm collecting, what I will be picking up, in the next 6 months or a year. Um, I guess that's sort of an extension of sort of me. Um, Part of the reason that I really like to know what's going on behind the scenes with these different companies and these different lines, and sort of having an idea of what to expect, that's coming down the pipeline, is partly so that I know, what I may be buying with more advanced warning.
Mm.
Because if I can see something that's not going to get released for 6 months now, then I have 6 months to decide whether I'm going to order it or not. So I'm, even though I typically the type that will pre-order something day one that I know that I want, um, I typically know that I want it before it gets released, if that makes sense, which
Oh
is
yeah.
weird. And not everybody has that luxury, to be perfectly honest. But you know, my collecting habits might be very different if I didn't have that opportunity, personally at least. So, paints toy samples. When it stops being fun, it's time to take a break. Absolutely, a
Yep.
hundred percent. Yeah, and that's I agree 100%. I typically, when I go on vacation, I kind of step away, I take a break, I just kind of log off of everything and take that week or two off. I usually do that in the summer too. I usually do that in sort of July or August. I'll take a couple weeks and just tune out, shut it all down, because
Yeah.
it's all day every day. That's the other thing, is that if you're like me and you're kind of paying attention to everything all the time, everything everywhere all at once, it's a lot. It's a lot of sensory overload
Yeah.
sometimes.
I've been reading books more and listening to audiobooks. That's been
Mm,
taking my mind
hmm
off this stuff.
That's the Gundam model kits is one.
Yep.
That's one where I can kind of like slow down. The Dio building stuff. I got a pile of tiles to build my AWOC game board that I created way too much work for myself, but it is kind of therapeutic painting 114 tiles or whatever it is. Um, and we just filled up the pool.
There you
So
go.
like getting outside, getting some fresh air. I don't spend all day every day in this office. I spend a lot of time in this office, but if you have to make time to do that stuff too. You have to make time to do
Mhm.
the stuff that sort of gets your mind off of the collection. Um, and I think selling has that same effect too, right? That effect of sort of like, um, I don't think of my collection as a burden, but unburdening yourself of some of the clutter
Yeah.
that's created, because I find that when I have too much stuff, it ends up not being on the shelves. It ends up being on the floor. It ends up being in a box or in a bin or whatever. And then it's sort of like, my collection kind of maxes out my space. The extra stuff doesn't really have anywhere to go but out. So, you kind of have to do it. At least I have to do it to do that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. Anything else?
Oh, I mean, that was definitely all bases covered of that topic.
Questions, comments from the chat there? We'll take a couple more. I mean, we're 129 and
Which is, I
change.
think, a
Um,
record for us.
that's pretty good. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, we did. I mean, we could talk about the HasLab a little bit more, but I don't think we need to bother. What about Metal Cooler? Are you getting Metal Cooler?
I've missed out on pre-orders, and I'm really annoyed. Like, so my
No, you haven't. We can talk after.
oh yeah, because I mean, I went on my import sites I usually go to, and they were
Yeah,
all sold out pretty much immediately. I really want it. Looks great. I saw a video of someone had it in hand already, and it's
that's what. Yeah,
so cool.
when I saw it, that Insta Tamashi video that they had it in hand and they were posing it, I had said that I wasn't going to get it because it was too expensive and it was just. I also was like, oh, the vac metal will flake and blah blah blah. Like,
That was
oh,
my concern too.
but I don't know that. I mean, maybe it won't. Maybe they've, maybe it's not just a basic vac metal. Like there might be a little bit more to it. Um, it looks, it looks pretty awesome.
That's great.
And the saving grace for me, at least, is that it comes from a movie that's like, Metal Cooler doesn't really exist apart from 30 minutes in one particular Dragon Ball movie.
Yeah,
Return of Cooler, I think, which I think I've probably seen once. And the design is cool, and like I know of the design, but at the same time it's not a design that's like it's not even on my long list. Like when I got into SH Figure Arts, I made my list, and it wasn't even, I didn't even consider it. And I have figures from some of the movies on that list.
mm-hmm.
Tapion. But Metal Cooler, again, he's also like, how there was like 100 of them or something in that movie. So like if you get one, it's kind of like, it's like buying one Cobra Trooper.
Yeah,
Like
fair enough.
like if you're a completist, okay, that's cool. But like if you're gonna kind of represent him in the way that he's represented in the movie, you need at least like 3 of them.
Yeah, which I
And
wouldn't do. Not for that price. There's just no way.
no, that's, yeah. I mean, it's about $100 US or whatever. So it's just, yeah,
Yeah,
it's just not feasible. I mean, that's, again, part of it is that like most of the things that I collect, I don't see myself really downsizing because like apart from Cobra Troopers, I don't really troop build anything.
mm-hmm.
But something like Metal Cooler, like I'm not obligated, but like I would feel compelled to get at least 3. And then it's like that thing where you're just looking at the price and you're looking at like all that kind of stuff and you're like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't add up in my brain. This is like, I would have to sell too much stuff to get these ones.
Yeah.
But it's a fantastic looking figure. I'm jealous. Somebody in the comments said that they're just doing two lines, classified and something else. I can't remember what the other one was.
Wrestling.
Yeah, classified and wrestling. And forgive me, I forget who made that comment, but I'm a little bit jealous of people that are only doing like 1 or 2 lines because way less, news cycle to sort of follow, way fewer, dates to keep track of for pre-orders and stuff like that, way less stress about like shelves, because, you can, like if your whole collection is two things, if I only had 2 collections behind me, it would be easy. You just split the shelves 50-50. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, the Ninja Turtle stuff, there's like 4 different lines on the Ninja Turtle shelf. So it's like, and that's just behind me. There's also, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different collections over there, and then there's stuff over there. Like and everything gets 1 shelf or 2 shelves. If you just had if I had 2 things, all of this would be one thing, and all of that would be one thing, and I'd be done, and it'd be easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we complain about this stuff, but ultimately, like I said,
it's just toys. It's just toys.
It's just toys. It's just fun. This is like the kind of problem that when you have this problem, like life's good. If this is what we're complaining about, life's pretty good. Yeah. that's all I got.
That's all I got.
It's been fun. It's always a pleasure, and we'll definitely see you again soon, Austin. We'll
Sure.
get you on again sometime soon. Um, and yeah, everybody that's been watching, commenting in the chat there, thank you for coming. Anybody that's watching on the replay, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, hit the like button. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down. I'm cool with that too. Subscribe and hit the notification button if you want to know when I do the open late live unboxing videos, which are kind of random, and they've been even more random the last couple weeks just because I've been busy. But yeah, on behalf of Austin and myself, thanks for coming, and we'll talk to you again soon.